What? Anna asked. It was a question she'd never posed before. Robert thought for a moment. Something didn't fit. You were such an exemplary employee in every other way. I wanted to understand before I judged. That's rare, Anna observed. Most people jump to conclusions. I nearly did, Robert admitted. But then I would have missed all of this. He gestured to the thriving community space around them. Sometimes the rules exist for good reasons, but sometimes they need to be questioned. You taught me that, Anna smiled. And you taught me that one person's small act can lead to big changes with the right support. As they walked together through the center, greeting people and addressing last-minute details, Robert reflected on how a single decision to follow an employee instead of simply enforcing rules had led to a transformation, not just for the communities they now served, but for himself as a leader and for the soul of his company. What began as a potential disciplinary issue had become a journey of rediscovery, reminding him why he had started Green Life in the first place. By following an employee who took expired food, he had found his way back to the heart of what truly mattered, nourishing not just bodies, but human dignity and connection. Anna gathered her things to leave, but paused at the door. Thank you for seeing something worth saving rather than something worth punishing, she said quietly. Most people would have just fired me. After she left, Robert remained in his office late into the evening. He drafted a company-wide email announcing the successful launch of the Community Nourishment Initiative. He reviewed financial projections for expanding the program. But mostly, he thought about Mr. Parker's words about feeling invisible, about mattering. In the corporate world Robert had inhabited for so long, value was measured in profit margins and market share. People became numbers on spreadsheets, consumers rather than human beings with stories and struggles. It had taken Anna's simple act of compassion to remind him that there was another way to measure value, in human connection, in dignity preserved, in hunger relieved. As he finally packed up to go home, Robert realized he felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of genuine fulfillment that no business success had ever provided. By following an employee who took expired food, he had found his way back to the heart of what truly mattered. 6 months had passed since that first official food delivery to Pine Street. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves as Robert pulled into the parking lot of what was now called the Green Life Community Center, formerly a vacant storefront 2 blocks from the Pine Street apartments that the company had renovated and converted. Today was the grand opening, and Robert felt a mixture of pride and nervousness as he surveyed the new space. What had begun as Anna's simple act of compassion had grown into something far larger than either of them had initially imagined. Inside, volunteers were arranging fresh produce on shelves, setting up tables for the cooking demonstration scheduled for later, and putting final touches on the small cafe area, where residents could gather for coffee and conversation. The walls were painted in warm, welcoming colors with photographs capturing moments from the past 6 months of community deliveries. There you are, Anna called, spotting Robert in the doorway. I was beginning to think you'd miss your own speech. Robert smiled. Anna had blossomed in her role as Director of Community Outreach, a title upgrade she'd received 3 months ago when the program expanded beyond Pine Street to include 2 other senior living facilities and a family shelter across town. She moved through the space with confidence, clipboard in hand, directing volunteers with gentle authority. Just wanted to take it all in for a moment, Robert replied. Hard to believe this all started because you broke the rules. Anna laughed. Best mistake I ever made. The center was designed as a hub for the expanded Community Nourishment Initiative. It included a food distribution area where people could select items with dignity rather than receiving pre-packed boxes. There was a teaching kitchen for nutrition and cooking classes. A small team of social workers had office space in the back, helping connect people with additional resources beyond food. Mr. Wilson. Ms. Morales, Mr. Patel called out, entering with several Pine Street residents. The place looks wonderful. Robert greeted them warmly, noticing how much healthier Mr. Parker looked compared to 6 months ago. His color was better, and though he still used the oxygen tank, he moved with more energy. Mrs. Chen immediately inspected the sewing corner that had been set up at her suggestion, where residents could repair clothes and teach younger people mending skills. As more community members arrived for the opening ceremony, Robert found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. The program's success at Pine Street had quickly silenced most critics within the company. When local media picked up the story, Green Life had received overwhelmingly positive coverage, leading to increased sales and improved employee morale. David, the initially skeptical CFO, had become one of the program's strongest advocates after seeing both the community impact and the financial benefits from reduced waste, tax incentives for donations, and enhanced brand reputation. Patricia from legal had helped expand the program's protection by developing rock-solid protocols and agreements. But the numbers and business benefits, while important, weren't what made Robert most proud. It was the relationships that had formed, the dignity that had been restored, the sense of community that had strengthened not just among the recipients but within Green Life itself. "It's time," Anna said, touching his arm gently. "Everyone's here." Robert nodded and moved to the front of the room where a small podium had been set up. Looking out at the gathered crowd, elderly residents from Pine Street and other facilities, families from the shelter, Green Life employees, local officials, and media representatives, he felt a moment of unexpected emotion. "Thank you all for coming today," he began. 6 months ago, Green Life launched a small program to deliver food that would otherwise go to waste to the residents of Pine Street senior apartments. Today, we're opening this center as a permanent home for what has become the Community Nourishment Initiative, serving hundreds of people across our city. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But this story actually began earlier than that. It began when one employee saw a need and decided to act, even though it meant breaking company rules. Ana Morales saw food being thrown away while people went hungry, and she couldn't stand by and do nothing. Robert gestured for Ana to join him at the podium. She looked surprised but came forward. Ana took expired food that was destined for the dumpster and brought it to the residents of Pine Street. Robert continued. "When I discovered what she was doing, I could have fired her. Company policy would have supported that decision. Instead, I followed her one evening to see where she was taking the food." He looked around the room, making eye contact with the Pine Street residents who had become friends over these months. "What I found changed everything, not just for Ana and the people she was helping, but for me and for Green Life as a company." Robert stepped aside, inviting Ana to speak. She hesitated, then addressed the crowd with simple sincerity. "I never meant to start something big," she said. "I just couldn't bear seeing good food thrown away when people I cared about were skipping meals to afford medicine. All I did was connect the dots, food that wasn't being used with people who needed it." She smiled at the Pine Street residents. "But what happened after that has been because of all of you. Your willingness to share your stories, to tell us what you really needed, to help us understand how to provide help with dignity. And because of Robert, who could have seen my actions as just breaking rules, but instead saw an opportunity to make a meaningful change." The ceremony continued with brief remarks from Mr. Patel, a city council member, and Mrs. Taylor, who brought laughter with stories about how the program had changed life at Pine Street. "Now we argue about recipes instead of complaining about our ailments." After the ribbon cutting, people mingled throughout the center, exploring the different areas and enjoying refreshments prepared by Green Life's culinary team. Robert found himself beside Mr. Gonzalez near the history corner, where the former teacher had helped create a display about the neighborhood's past. "You've done something important here," Mr. Gonzalez said quietly. "Not just the food, though, that matters tremendously. You've created connection in a world that increasingly isolates people from each other." Robert nodded. "I've learned so much these past months. About what people really need. About the blind spots we develop when we're focused only on business metrics. About how much more fulfilling work is when it has genuine purpose." "And what's next?" Mr. Gonzalez asked. "For the program for Green Life? We're already planning centers in 2 other neighborhoods," Robert replied. "And we're changing how we operate as a company. We've implemented a living wage policy for all employees. We're redesigning our production process to minimize waste from the start. We're developing products specifically for donation programs like this one." He paused, watching Ana across the room as she laughed with a group of children from the family shelter. "But perhaps the most important change is that we're listening more. To our employees. To our community. To people whose voices often go unheard." Later, as the event wound down, Robert found himself back at the center's entrance with Ana. They stood quietly for a moment, watching as volunteers and community members continued to interact, the space alive with conversation and connection. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you caught me taking that expired bread?" Anna asked. Robert shook his head. "Not remotely. I was just trying to enforce policy. But following you that night was the best decision I ever made." "What made you decide to follow me instead of just firing me on the with his executive team?" The conference room fell silent as he laid out his plan for what he was calling the Green Life Community Nourishment Initiative. This program will formalize the donation of near-expired food products to local communities in need, starting with the Pine Street Senior Apartments, Robert explained, standing at the head of the table. His chief financial officer, David, frowned. "While I appreciate the charitable intent, I have concerns about the costs and logistics. Our current system for handling expired products is efficient and has minimal labor costs, and results in perfectly good food being thrown away," Robert countered, "while people in our community go hungry. There are liability issues to consider," added Patricia, the legal director. "If someone gets sick from our donated food, even if it's not our fault." "I've already looked into that," Robert said. "The Good Samaritan Food Donation Act provides protection for companies donating food in good faith. As long as we follow proper safety protocols, our legal exposure is minimal." The discussion continued, with various executives raising concerns about costs, logistics, brand implications, and resource allocation. Robert listened patiently, addressing each point with careful consideration. "I understand your concerns," he finally said, "but this initiative aligns with our company mission of nourishing communities. It's not just good ethics, it's good business. We reduce waste, create positive community impact, and live our stated values." He paused, looking around the table. "I'm not asking for permission to do this. I'm telling you it's happening, and I'm asking for your support to make it successful. I've already identified someone to lead this initiative, Ana Morales from the packaging department." Several executives exchanged surprised glances. "An entry-level employee?" David asked skeptically. "Ana has already been running an informal version of this program for 2 months, Robert replied. "She knows the community, understands their needs, and has their trust. She's exactly the right person to develop this further, with our resources behind her." By the end of the meeting, Robert had secured cautious support from most of his team, though he could tell some remained unconvinced. That didn't matter. What he had seen at Pine Street had reawakened something in him, a sense of purpose beyond profit margins and market share. Later that day, he met with Anna to offer her the official position of Community Outreach Coordinator. Her eyes widened when he told her the salary, nearly double what she was making in packaging. "This is too much," she protested. "It's what the position is worth," Robert insisted. "You'll have significant responsibilities, developing protocols for food safety, coordinating with multiple departments, managing relationships with community partners, potentially scaling the program to other locations eventually. It's a management-level role." Anna still looked stunned. "I don't have experience with any of that. I just wanted to help people who were hungry." "That's exactly why you're the right person," Robert said gently. "You understand the heart of what we're trying to do. The rest, the skills, the knowledge, when we can teach you that, you'll have support from every department you need." Over the next 2 weeks, Anna threw herself into developing the program. She worked with the quality control team to establish protocols for identifying foods approaching their sell-by dates that were still safe for consumption. She collaborated with logistics to arrange transportation. The legal department helped draft agreements with Pine Street and potential future partners. Robert found himself increasingly impressed with Anna's quick learning and dedication. She asked smart questions, identified potential problems before they arose, and kept the focus firmly on the people they were trying to help. Not everything went smoothly. Some middle managers saw the initiative as an unnecessary distraction. Others questioned why an entry-level employee had been promoted so quickly. There were logistical challenges to work out, like how to track donated items for tax purposes without creating excessive paperwork. Through it all, Anna maintained a calm determination that Robert came to admire deeply. When faced with bureaucratic obstacles, she didn't get frustrated or give up. She found creative solutions. 3 weeks after their visit to Pine Street, they were ready for the first official delivery under the new program. Robert insisted on going along. They arrived in a small Green Life delivery van, freshly painted with the new Community Nourishment Initiative logo that the marketing department had created. Mr. Patel was waiting for them outside the building. "Right on time," he said with a broad smile. "Everyone's been looking forward to this all week." Inside, the common room had been prepared for the occasion. Tables were set up to display the food items so residents could select what they needed. Signs welcomed the Green Life community partners. As residents began to arrive, Robert noticed something different about the atmosphere. When Anna had been bringing food informally, there had been gratitude, certainly, but also a sense of precariousness, the knowledge that this help might not be reliable or lasting. Today, there was a new feeling in the air, one of security, of dignity. Mrs. Chen approached Robert as he helped unload a box of fresh produce. "You kept your word," she said simply. "Of course," Robert replied. She nodded approvingly. "Many people make promises. Few follow through. You're doing a good thing here." Throughout the afternoon, Robert worked alongside Anna, helping residents select items, carrying heavier packages to apartments for those who couldn't manage, learning more about the community. Mr. Gonzalez invited him to stay for coffee afterward and shared stories about the neighborhood's history. Another resident, a former nurse named Mrs. Taylor, gave him homemade cookies to take back to his staff. As the delivery wrapped up, Mr. Parker, the man with the oxygen tank, made his way slowly over to Robert. "I wanted to thank you properly," he said, his voice raspy but determined. "What you and Anna are doing, it's more than just the food." "What do you mean?" Robert asked. "When you get to my age and your health isn't good and your savings are gone," Mr. Parker explained, "you start to feel invisible, like the world has moved on and forgotten you exist. But this program, it tells us we're still here. We still matter." Robert felt a lump form in his throat. "You do matter, Mr. Parker." "I know that," Mr. Parker replied with a small smile. "But it's nice to be reminded." On the drive back to Green Life headquarters, Anna was quietly jubilant. "It went even better than I hoped," she said. "Did you see how excited everyone was about the fresh vegetables? Mrs. Taylor hasn't had fresh berries in months because they're too expensive." Robert nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. What Mr. Parker said about feeling invisible, that stayed with me. "It's common among the elderly," Anna said softly, "especially those without family nearby. Society tends to overlook them." "We've been overlooking a lot of things," Robert mused. "At Green Life, we talk about feeding families, but we've been thinking too narrowly about who those families are and what they need." When they reached the office, Robert surprised Anna by asking her to come to his office before heading home. Once there, he pulled out a legal pad where he'd been making notes. "I've been thinking beyond Pine Street," he said, "about how to make this program sustainable and expandable." "I thought we were starting small," Anna said cautiously. "We are," Robert assured her. "But I want to build a foundation that allows for growth. Pine Street is just the beginning. There are other senior communities, homeless shelters, after-school programs in low-income areas, all places where food insecurity is a daily reality." He showed her his notes, ideas for restructuring certain company processes to reduce waste, developing specific product lines with longer shelf lives for donation purposes, creating volunteer opportunities for Green Life employees to participate in deliveries. "This is amazing," Anna said, flipping through the pages. "But it's also a huge undertaking." The executive team barely approved the small pilot program. "They'll come around," Robert said confidently, "especially when they see the response from the community. This isn't just charity, Anna. It's reconnecting our company with its purpose." Anna studied him curiously. "You've changed since that day you called me into your office," Robert smiled. "I like to think I've remembered rather than changed. When I started Green Life 20 years ago, it wasn't just to make money. I wanted to make good food accessible to people. Somewhere along the way, I got caught up in growth targets and market expansion, and I forgot why I was doing it all in the first place." He looked out his office window at the Green Life campus below. "This program, it's bringing us back to our roots. Food isn't just a product. It's a basic human need, a connector of people, a source of dignity." "So what's our next step?" Anna asked. "Tomorrow we start planning phase 2, Robert replied. "But tonight, I want you to go home and celebrate what you've accomplished. What began with you sneaking expired bread out the back door is becoming something that could change hundreds of lives." "Tell me about some of the people we'll meet," Robert said, breaking the silence. Anna's face brightened. Well, there's Mr. Patel, the building manager. He's in his 70s but has more energy than people half his age. He keeps the place running as best he can with limited resources. She smiled, thinking of the residents. Mrs. Chen is usually the first to greet me. She was a seamstress for 40 years and still mends clothes for other residents. Mr. Gonzalez was a high school history teacher. He has diabetes now and struggles with the cost of insulin. As Anna continued describing the residents, Robert was struck by how well she knew them. Not just their needs, but their stories, their pasts, their personalities. These weren't just recipients of charity to her. They were friends, a community she had become part of. The hardest part, Anna said, her voice growing softer, is seeing how invisible they feel. Many of them worked hard their whole lives, but now they're struggling. And they feel forgotten by the world. Robert nodded, thinking about how easy it was to overlook people when they didn't directly impact your daily life. He'd been guilty of that himself. They turned onto Pine Street, and Robert immediately understood what Anna had meant about the neighborhood. The buildings were old, many in need of repair. The senior apartment complex stood 5 stories tall, brick with small balconies where some residents had placed plants or chairs. Robert parked in front, and they began unloading the food packages from his car. He had instructed the Green Life kitchen staff to prepare fresh meals and grocery boxes filled with essentials and a few treats. As they carried the first load toward the entrance, an elderly man with a cane approached. "Anna, you're early today," he called out. Then he noticed Robert and the additional packages. "And you've brought help and extra supplies." "Mr. Patel," Anna greeted him warmly. "This is Robert Wilson. He's my boss." Mr. Patel's smile faltered slightly, his eyes darting between them with concern. "It's not what you think," Anna quickly reassured him. "Robert wants to help. We might be starting an official program to provide food regularly to Pine Street." Mr. Patel's weathered face broke into a wide smile. "Well then, Mr. Wilson, you are most welcome here. Please come inside." The building's common room was modest but clean. A few card tables were set up where several seniors were playing board games. A small television played in the corner with 2 elderly women watching intently. The room felt lived in and comfortable despite the obvious age of the furniture. As Anna and Robert entered with their arms full of packages, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Heads turned, games paused, and curious glances were exchanged. Anna was clearly expected and welcome, but Robert was a newcomer who drew cautious attention. "Everyone," Anna called out. "This is Robert. He's brought some special deliveries from Green Life today." A murmur went through the room as people began to approach. Robert watched as Anna greeted each person by name, often with a gentle touch on the arm or a question about a grandchild or a health concern. He felt slightly awkward, unused to this kind of intimate community setting. But the warmth in the room was infectious. An elderly woman with silver hair neatly pinned back approached Robert directly. "You're Anna's boss?" she asked, her gaze appraising him thoughtfully. "I'm Mrs. Chen." "Yes, I am," Robert confirmed. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Chen." "Anna is a good person," Mrs. Chen stated plainly. "She helps us when others look away." "Why are you here now?" The directness of the question caught Robert off guard, but he appreciated her straightforwardness. "I'm here because Anna showed me something important," he answered honestly. "She made me see that my company could do more to help people in our community. I want to learn from her example." Mrs. Chen studied him for a moment, then nodded, seemingly satisfied with his answer. "Good, we need more people who see." Over the next hour, Robert helped Anna distribute the food packages. He met residents with diverse backgrounds: a former librarian, a retired bus driver, a woman who had worked in a factory for 30 years. Each had a lifetime of experiences, wisdom, and perseverance that impressed him deeply. Mr. Gonzalez, the former history teacher Anna had mentioned, invited Robert to sit with him after the distributions were complete. "Anna tells me you run Green Life Foods," he said. "I remember when that company was just a small local business. You know of us from before?" Robert asked, surprised. "Oh, yes." Mr. Gonzalez nodded. "I've lived in this city my whole life. Watched it change, businesses come and go. Your company is one of the success stories." Robert felt a strange mix of pride and humility. "We've grown quite a bit over the years." "Growth is good," Mr. Gonzalez said, "but purpose is better." "What's your purpose, Mr. Wilson?" The question hit Robert like a physical force. For years his purpose had been clear: build the business, increase market share, deliver value to shareholders. But sitting here in this humble common room, those goals suddenly seemed incomplete. Before he could formulate an answer, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. A thin man with an oxygen tank had just entered, moving slowly but deliberately. Anna immediately went to his side, helping him to a chair. "That's Mr. Parker," Mrs. Chen explained to Robert. "He's been in the hospital. We didn't expect him back so soon." Robert watched as Anna knelt beside Mr. Parker's chair, speaking to him quietly. The older man's eyes were tired, but he smiled at whatever Anna was telling him. She then got up and retrieved one of the specially prepared meal containers, bringing it to him along with a bottle of water. "His medications make it hard for him to eat," Mrs. Chen continued. "Anna always finds soft foods that he can manage." Before she started helping, he was losing weight dangerously fast. Something tightened in Robert's chest as he watched the simple interaction, the careful way Anna opened the container, how she made sure Mr. Parker was comfortable before leaving him to eat, the dignity with which she treated him. This wasn't just about food. It was about care, about seeing someone's humanity. As the evening progressed, the residents began to share stories. Someone brought out old photographs, another played a few songs on a well-worn guitar. Robert found himself drawn into their world, listening to tales of the neighborhood from decades ago, hearing about children and grandchildren, learning about struggles with healthcare costs and housing insecurity. He noticed that many of the residents were wearing clothes that had been carefully mended, the work of Mrs. Chen, he assumed. The furniture showed signs of creative repair. Everything in this building spoke of making do with limited resources, of dignity preserved through ingenuity and mutual support. When it was time to leave, Robert found himself reluctant to go. The evening had affected him more deeply than he had anticipated. As he and Anna said their goodbyes, many of the residents made a point of thanking him personally for the food and, more importantly, for visiting them. "You'll come back?" Mr. Patel asked as he walked them to the door. "Yes," Robert replied without hesitation. "I'll be back." In the car, both Robert and Anna were quiet for a while, processing the evening. "Thank you for bringing me here," Robert finally said. Anna looked over at him. "What did you think?" Robert took a deep breath, organizing his thoughts. I've been running a food company without really thinking about what food means to people. Not just nutrition or taste, but connection, care, dignity. Those people in there, they're not just hungry. They're isolated, overlooked. The food you bring isn't just feeding their bodies. It's acknowledging their existence," Anna finished for him. "Their worth." "Exactly," Robert nodded. "And that's what got me thinking. Green Life has the resources to do so much more than what you've been able to do alone, but we need your heart behind it, your understanding of what these people really need." "So you're serious about creating an official program?" Anna asked, hope evident in her voice. "More than serious," Robert replied. "After tonight, I'm convinced it's essential, not just for Pine Street, but potentially for other communities too. We'll start small, get it right, then see how we can expand." As they drove back toward the Green Life headquarters where Anna had left her car, Robert's mind was already racing with ideas and plans. But underneath the practical considerations was a deeper shift, a reconnection with the fundamental reason he had started Green Life in the first place: to nourish people, to make lives better. "Anna," he said as they pulled into the parking lot, "I'd like you to head up this initiative. You'd need training, of course, and we'd have to work out the details of the position. But no one else understands these people's needs like you do." Anna stared at him in disbelief. "You want to create a position for me? To do this officially?" "Yes," Robert said firmly. "What you started deserves to be developed properly, with resources behind it. Will you consider it?" In the dim light of the car, he could see tears shining in Anna's eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "I'd be honored." As they said goodnight and Anna walked to her car, Robert remained seated in his, watching her go. This morning, he had expected to discipline an employee for breaking company rules. Instead, she had shown him a way to make his company truly live its values. In trying to follow an employee who took expired food, he had found a path forward for himself and for Green Life. The following Monday morning, Robert called a meeting. While I was there, I ran into Mr. Patel, the building manager. He told me they had lost their meal delivery program due to budget cuts. Many of the residents are on fixed incomes. Some have to choose between medicine and food. She looked directly at Robert now, her voice growing stronger. That night I was working late, helping with inventory. I saw all the food that was going to be thrown away. Still good food, just past its sell-by date. It seemed so wrong when I knew people who were going hungry just across town. Robert nodded, encouraging her to continue. I only took things that were being discarded, Anna explained. Nothing that could be sold. I checked everything carefully to make sure it was still good, just not sellable by store standards. I know it was wrong to take company property without permission, but you couldn't stand by and do nothing, Robert finished for her. Anna nodded, relief visible on her face at being understood, even if she was still about to lose her job. How many people are you feeding? Robert asked. About 15 regularly, Anna replied. The building has 32 units, mostly seniors living alone. Some have family who help, others get by on their own. The ones I help are the most vulnerable, those without family support, with medical expenses, or whose benefits don't stretch far enough. Robert leaned back in his chair, studying Anna thoughtfully. And you do this all on your own? Collect the food, transport it, distribute it? Yes, Anna said. I take the bus to work, then the bus back to Pine Street. Sometimes it's a lot to carry, but she shrugged. They need it more than I need convenience. Robert felt something shift inside him. Here was someone making a real difference with so little, while he had so much at his disposal. What you did breaks company policy, Robert said finally. But sometimes policies need to be re-examined. Anna's brow furrowed in confusion. I don't understand. I followed you yesterday, Robert admitted. I saw where you took the food and who you gave it to. Anna's eyes widened with surprise, then narrowed with something like defiance. So you spied on me? I did, Robert acknowledged, not defending himself. I saw you with that elderly gentleman outside the building. I saw how the residents greeted you, how you've clearly built relationships with them. I saw the dignity with which you treated everyone. He paused, gathering his thoughts. That made me think about why we have these policies in the first place. Green Life's mission statement talks about nourishing communities. But are we really living up to that? We throw away food while people go hungry, right in the shadow of our own headquarters. Anna seemed unsure how to respond, still waiting for the inevitable firing. I have a proposal, Robert continued. Instead of disciplinary action, what if we turned what you're doing into something official? A proper Green Life community outreach program. Anna stared at him in disbelief. You're not firing me? No, Robert said with a slight smile. I'm asking for your help. What you've identified is not just a gap in our community, but a gap in how Green Life fulfills its mission. I'd like to explore how we might bridge that gap, legally and safely, but with the same heart you've shown. I don't understand, Anna said cautiously. What exactly are you suggesting? First, I want to visit Pine Street with you, Robert replied. Properly this time, not lurking across the street. I want to meet these people, understand their needs firsthand. Then I want us to develop a program that allows Green Life to donate near-expired food safely and legally. For the first time since entering his office, Anna smiled, a genuine, hopeful smile that transformed her face. Really, you would do that? I would, Robert confirmed. But I need your expertise. You know these people and their needs. Would you be willing to help develop this program? Maybe even lead it eventually? Anna's expression shifted from disbelief to cautious excitement. Yes, of course, but why? Why would you do this instead of just enforcing the policy? Robert was silent for a moment, considering how much to share. Because you reminded me of something I'd forgotten, he said finally. When I was growing up, my family struggled. There were times we needed help. I built this company partly because I never wanted to feel that vulnerable again. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing the vulnerability in others. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city sprawling below. Success can be a kind of blindness, Anna. You've helped me see again. So what happens now? Anna asked. Now, Robert said, turning back to her. We finish your shift in packaging. But tomorrow I'd like you to meet me here an hour early. We'll start putting together a proposal for what I'm tentatively calling the Green Life Community Nourishment Initiative. And tomorrow evening, if you're willing, I'd like to visit Pine Street with you. Anna stood, still looking somewhat stunned by this unexpected turn of events. I'll be here early, she promised. And, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Robert, please, he said. And thank you, Anna, for taking a risk to do the right thing. After Anna left, Robert remained at the window, lost in thought. The encounter had stirred something in him. Memories long buried, values once held dear but gradually overshadowed by balance sheets and profit margins. He picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Cancel my meetings for tomorrow evening. And contact legal. I need to speak with them about food donation liability laws and potential community partnership programs." The next day dawned bright and clear. Robert arrived at his office to find Anna already waiting, a notebook in hand filled with ideas. Together, they spent the morning outlining a program that would allow Green Life to safely donate food that would otherwise be discarded. As they worked, Robert noticed a change in Anna. The caution she had shown in his office yesterday had given way to passionate engagement. She had clearly thought about this issue extensively and had practical, thoughtful suggestions about implementation, logistics, and outreach. "We could start with Pine Street," she suggested. "But there are other senior communities, homeless shelters, and after-school programs that could benefit too." "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," Robert cautioned. "I like your ambition, but we need to make sure we get this right from the beginning. Pine Street will be our pilot program." Anna nodded, accepting his guidance while still radiating enthusiasm. Even just helping Pine Street would make such a difference. By lunchtime, they had a workable draft proposal. Robert had also received preliminary information from legal about food donation laws, including the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act that protected companies donating food in good faith from liability. "This is good news," Robert told Anna. "There are actually laws in place to encourage exactly the kind of program we're considering. We'll need proper transportation, storage protocols, and documentation, but it's all quite doable." "So we can really make this happen?" Anna asked. "We can," Robert confirmed. "And we will. Tonight we'll visit Pine Street, and by next week I want to launch the pilot program." As the workday came to a close, Robert found himself experiencing an unfamiliar feeling. For years, his focus had been on growing Green Life, expanding market share, and increasing profitability. Those goals had given him purpose, but the satisfaction had always been fleeting, immediately replaced by the next target, the next challenge. Today felt different. The excitement building in him as he prepared to visit Pine Street with Anna wasn't about business metrics or corporate growth. It was about reconnecting with the fundamental purpose of what Green Life produced: food to nourish people, not just consumers but human beings with lives and struggles and dignity. "I'm ready whenever you are," Anna said, appearing at his office door. Robert grabbed his jacket, noticing as he did so that Anna had changed from her work uniform into casual clothes. "Let's take my car," he suggested. "We'll have more room for a proper grocery delivery." Anna's eyes widened. "Grocery delivery?" Robert smiled. "I took the liberty of having the kitchen prepare some fresh meals and put together some grocery boxes. Consider it our first unofficial delivery." Together, they walked to the executive parking area, where Robert's car was loaded with food packages. As they drove toward Pine Street, Robert felt a growing sense of anticipation. Something important was beginning, not just for the residents of Pine Street or for Anna, but for him and for the soul of the company he had built. The car ride to Pine Street was quiet at first. Anna gazed out the window, occasionally glancing at Robert with a look that suggested she still couldn't quite believe the turn of events. Robert navigated through the evening traffic, his mind on the upcoming visit.